Welcome back to PatternNotes. Tonight, I want you to do something a bit different. Before we dive into the text, I want you to close your eyes. If you're driving, if you're walking, just bring a sliver of your attention inward. Scan your body, not as a doctor scans a patient, but as a traveler scans a landscape they haven't visited in years. Start at the jaw. Is it locked? Move to the shoulders. Are they pulled up toward your ears as if you're bracing for a sudden cold wind? Feel your chest. Is the breath shallow, resting only in the upper ribs? We treat these physical sensations as white noise. We call them stress or tiredness. We view our bodies as stubborn machines that occasionally malfunction and need to be silenced with caffeine or numbed with medication. We live in our heads, treating the neck down as merely a vehicle to carry our brains from one meeting to the next. But in 1931, a man named Alfred Adler looked at this exact disconnection and saw a tragedy. He realized that when we ignore the body, we aren't just ignoring flesh. We are ignoring the most honest part of our soul. Tonight, we are doing a deep, slow reading of Chapter 2 of Adler's masterpiece, What Life Should Mean to You. It is titled Mind and Body. But after tonight, you might think of it as the language you forgot you spoke. Take a breath. You are here now. The world can wait. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Great Cartesian Lie. Adler opens this chapter by confronting the ghost that has haunted Western civilization for centuries. The Great Divide. Since the days of René Descartes, we have been told a lie. The lie is that the mind and the body are two separate entities. The ghost in the machine. This philosophy suggests that the mind is the pilot, the rational, thinking, choosing king, and the body is merely the wooden ship, dumb and obedient. When the ship leaks, you take it to a mechanic, a doctor. When the pilot loses his way, you send him to a navigator, a therapist. Two different worlds, two different languages. Adler looked at this and said no. He argued that the separation between mind and body is a convenient fiction, but a dangerous one. He believed in the indivisibility of the individual. The word individual itself comes from the Latin individuum, that which cannot be divided. To Adler, the mind and body are not two things working alongside each other. They are one single, unified life force expressing itself through two different mediums simultaneously. Think of it like a piece of music. You have the sheet music, the mind's intent, and you have the vibration of the strings, the body's expression. You cannot have the music if you remove either one. They are the same event happening in different dimensions. Adler wasn't just a philosopher. He was a clinician. He spent thousands of hours sitting across from people whose bodies were screaming truths that their mouths were forbidden to say. He writes about the organ jargon, the idea that our organs have their own vocabulary. He observed patients who suffered from chronic debilitating headaches. When he mapped their lives, he found these headaches weren't random biological glitches. They appeared like clockwork in the mornings when the patient felt overwhelmed by a task they felt incapable of completing. The headache wasn't wrong. The headache was the body's way of saying, I am terrified. I cannot move forward. I need an excuse to retreat. He saw patients with stomach ulcers who were swallowing their anger for decades. He saw people with chronic fatigue who weren't lacking sleep, but were lacking a reason to live. Adler's radical proposition was this: the mind and the body are always in agreement. If your mind is convinced that the world is a dangerous place where you must always be on guard, your body will not, it cannot, be relaxed. It will produce the tension, the adrenaline, and the cortisol necessary to survive a war zone, even if you are just sitting in a quiet office. The body is the mind's most loyal servant. It will never betray the mind's core beliefs. If you believe you are a victim, your body will carry itself with the heaviness of a person in chains. If you believe you must be superior to everyone else, your body will carry the brittle, exhausting tension of a king who fears a coup. The question Adler asks us is, what story is your body currently telling? Not the story you tell people at parties, not the story you write on your resume, but the story your muscles, your gut, and your nervous system are whispering in the dark. Chapter 2. The architecture of the style of life. How does this dialogue begin? Why does one person react to stress with a migraine, while another reacts with a skin rash or a sudden bout of flu? This brings us to Adler's most profound discovery: the style of life. Adler believed that by the age of 5 or 6, every human being has already authored the blueprint of their existence. As children, we are small, weak, and dependent. We look at the giant world around us, and we try to find a pattern that will keep us safe and make us feel significant. Maybe you learned that you only get attention when you are sick. Maybe you learned that the only way to avoid your father's anger was to be invisible. Maybe you learned that you were only good when you were perfect. These early conclusions form your style of life. It is the unique vibe or frequency of your soul. And once this blueprint is set, your body begins to build itself around it. Let's look at a common modern pattern: the person who lives in a state of constant, high-functioning anxiety. According to Adler, this person's style of life is likely built on the belief that the world is unpredictable, and I am only safe if I am prepared for the worst. This isn't just a thought. It becomes a physical architecture. This person will have a specific body style. Their breathing will be high and tight, what we call chest breathing. Why? Because deep belly breathing requires a state of vulnerability. To breathe deeply is to relax the abdominal wall, to let the guards down. A person who believes the world is a threat cannot afford to breathe into their belly. They will have braced shoulders. They will likely suffer from bruxism, grinding their teeth at night. Their body is literally biting down on life. Adler's compassion here is immense. He doesn't see these symptoms as illnesses to be cured. He sees them as creative solutions. The body is trying to help you. If you believe you are in danger, the body is doing you a favor by keeping your muscles tight and your heart rate high. It is trying to save your life. The tragedy, Adler notes, is that we often keep using a survival strategy from when we were 5 years old, even when we are 40. We are still wearing the heavy armor of a frightened child, and we wonder why our backs hurt and why we feel so tired. Why the stomach? Why the back? Why the skin? Adler suggests that we often have a weak organ, a part of our body that is more sensitive than others. When our style of life is challenged, when we face a crisis we don't know how to handle, our psychological tension pours into that weak organ. He tells the story of a man who, whenever he faced a romantic rejection, would develop a severe skin rash. To a modern doctor, this might be an allergy. To Adler, this was psychological skin. The man felt exposed, irritated, and uncomfortable in his own skin because of the rejection. His body simply turned that emotional metaphor into a physical reality. He wasn't making it up. The rash was real, but the source was the man's belief that he was unworthy of love. The body was simply printing the mind's internal memo onto the skin for the world to see. If you are listening to this, and you struggle with a chronic physical symptom that doctors can't quite explain, I want you to ask yourself a radical Adlerian question. If this symptom were a voice, what would it be saying? If your lower back pain were a sentence, would it be, "I am carrying too much"? If your tight throat were a sentence, would it be, "I am not allowed to speak my truth"? Don't judge the answer. Just listen to Organ Jargon. Chapter 3. The Arrangement, the Body's Secret Rebellion. Now, we must step into a territory that Adler called the arrangement. This is perhaps the most misunderstood, and yet the most compassionate part of his theory. To the modern ear, the word arrangement sounds like a trick, as if we are consciously plotting to get sick. But Adler's arrangement is a silent, subconscious masterpiece of the soul. It is what happens when the mind encounters a wall it cannot climb. It is the moment when our style of life is threatened by a reality we feel we cannot survive. In that moment of absolute desperation, the mind, acting as a protector, finds an out through the flesh. Adler writes about a man who was on the verge of a massive career promotion. This man had built his entire identity, his style of life, on being a perfectionist overachiever. To the world, he was invincible. But internally, he was terrified. He believed that if he took this promotion and failed, his life would be over. He was trapped between the drive to succeed and the paralyzing fear of exposure. The night before the final interview, he developed a sudden, severe vertigo. He couldn't stand up. The room spun. To any doctor, it was an inner ear issue. But to Adler, it was a brilliant arrangement. By becoming physically unable to attend the interview, the man preserved his psychological ego. He didn't fail because he wasn't good enough. He failed because he was sick. Do you see the brilliance? The body stepped in to save the man from a truth he couldn't face. His body staged a coup to protect his pride. We see this every day in the modern world. We call it anxiety, but Adler would call it a physical protest. Think of the child who develops a fever every Sunday night. Think of the woman who loses her voice every time she visits her overbearing parents. These aren't just reactions, they are strategies. The body is speaking a no that the mind is too afraid to utter. When we look at our symptoms through the lens of the arrangement, the question changes. We stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What does this symptom prevent me from doing, and what does it excuse me from facing?" This isn't about blaming the sick. It's about recognizing the incredible, desperate creativity of the human psyche. Your body is so loyal to you that it will literally manifest a physical wall to keep you from walking into a psychological fire. Chapter 4. Social Interest. The Biological Cost of Isolation. As we move deeper into Chapter 2, Adler connects the body to something even larger: social interest. He makes a staggering claim. Our physical health is intimately tied to our sense of belonging. Adler observed that the more a person is focused solely on themselves, on their own prestige, their own safety, their own superiority, the more brittle their body becomes. He noticed that self-centeredness is physically expensive. It requires a constant state of high alert. It keeps the nervous system in a crouched position, always ready to defend the ego against a perceived slight. In contrast, he found that people with a high level of social interest, those who feel a deep, genuine connection to the human community, tend to have more fluid bodies. Why? Because when you feel you belong to the world, you don't have to defend against it. You don't have to brace your shoulders against your neighbor. You don't have to clench your gut against the future. Adler was decades ahead of his time here. He was describing what we now call the polyvagal theory, or the biology of belonging. He saw that isolating yourself is a physical act. It manifests as a narrowing of the arteries, a shallowing of the breath, and a hardening of the muscular armor. He writes, "The person who is interested in their fellows has a body that works in harmony with the mind. When we cooperate, when we love, when we contribute, our body unfolds. The chemistry of the body shifts from the corrosive cortisol and adrenaline to the nurturing oxytocin and dopamine." Health, for Adler, was not just the absence of disease. It was the presence of connection. If you are feeling physically drained, Adler would ask you to look at your social pulse. Are you living on an island, trying to protect your small territory? Or are you part of the mainland? The heaviness you feel in your limbs might not be lack of sleep. It might be the weight of carrying the world entirely on your own. Chapter 5. The Anatomy of Courage. The courage to be imperfect. We have spent this night deconstructing the why. Why we ache. Why we collapse. Why we arrange our symptoms to survive. But Adler didn't leave us in the wreckage of our own patterns. He gave us a bridge. He called it the courage to be imperfect. In the final pages of this chapter, Adler suggests that most of our physical suffering stems from a single, exhausting ambition, the pursuit of God-likeness. We try to be invulnerable. We try to be beyond reproach. We try to be the one who never fails, never stumbles, and never needs help. But your body knows you are human. Your body knows that you are made of soft tissue and fragile bone. It knows that you are meant to tire, meant to feel, and meant to age. When your mind demands that you be a god, your body becomes the site of a civil war. Every time you push past your limits, every time you iron out your vulnerabilities to show the world a facade of strength, your body has to pay the bill. Adler makes a radical observation. Honesty is a physical relief. Think of the energy it takes to keep a secret. Think of the muscular effort required to hold back tears, or to swallow a scream, or to pretend you aren't terrified when you are. That energy is literal. It is ATP being consumed. It is oxygen being diverted from your organs to your armor. Adler noticed that when a patient finally reached a point of psychological honesty, when they finally admitted, "I am tired," or "I am failing," or "I am not who I pretend to be," something miraculous happened to their physical form. The braced shoulders we talked about earlier, they drop. The locked jaw, it softens. The shallow breath, it finally reaches the belly. This isn't magic, it's the cessation of hostilities. It's the moment the mind stops asking the body to do the impossible. Courage for Adler wasn't the absence of fear. It was the physical willingness to be seen as you are, flaws, aches, and all. He writes about the resilience of the honest. He found that those who accept their human limitations, Those who have the courage to be imperfect actually heal faster. Their bodies are no longer exhausted by the theater of perfection. They have more resources available for repair because they are spending less on defense. As we close our reading of Chapter 2, I want you to return to the scan we did at the beginning. Check in with that stomach, that jaw, those shoulders. If they are still tight, don't try to fix them. Don't demand that they relax. That is just another form of the pilot barking orders at the ship. Instead, just acknowledge them. Say to that tension, "I see you. I understand why you are here. I know you've been trying to protect me." Adler's greatest gift to us was the realization that our bodies are not our enemies. They are our oldest, most loyal friends. They have been keeping the records we were too afraid to keep. They have been carrying the bags we were too proud to carry. Tonight, let the great divide end. Stop treating your body as a machine to be optimized and start treating it as a partner to be heard. Your health is not a destination, it is a dialogue. It is the conversation between your style of life and the cells of your heart. The path to a meaningful life, according to Adler, starts with a single act of radical kindness toward yourself. Listen. Listen to the organ jargon. Listen to the arrangement. Listen to the quiet rebellion of your fatigue. Because when you finally hear what your body is saying, you might realize that you don't need to run 31 miles through the night like Dickens did. You don't need to over-explain yourself to the abyss. You just need to come home. You are here. You are human. And that, Adler tells us, is more than enough. We have traveled a long way tonight. Through the history of psychology and the deep architecture of your own nervous system. If this reading sparked something in you, a memory, a realization, or even just a new way of feeling your own breath, carry that with you. Don't rush to analyze it. Just let it sit. This is PatternNotes. Small patterns, quietly noticed. Thank you for spending this long, dark night with me. Until next time, take gentle, honest care of yourself.